The 21st century is quite different than the 20th century in three ways. First, the economy and the workplace are changing dramatically as we move to a global, knowledge-based society. And many reports are now reflecting how complicated that change is. Second, the world is so complex now that no single person, no matter how smart they are, no matter how well educated they are, can fully understand wicked problems that we face, like global climate change. And so people need to learn to work in teams of complementary expertise. And third, most students will have multiple careers, and many of those careers don't yet exist. So how we prepare people for careers that don't yet exist in terms of the flexibility, their ability to cope with uncertainty, their emotional ability to face a future that's very open-ended. These are all big educational challenges. The new literacies aren't solely intellectual. They also involve different kinds of character. We're now not only citizens of our own local setting or our own country, we're citizens of the world because of things like global climate change or international terrorism. Our actions have an enormous impact all across the world. And so having a set of values and a shared vision for where we want to take our fragile planet is a very important part of these new literacies. And that emotional and attitudinal foundation shapes the intellectual kind of skills that are required. Doing inquiry and doing critical thinking might seem purely intellectual, but they're not. They build a lot on the character of the person doing them, on their integrity, on their ability to be sensitive to moral and ethical nuances. So education is complex now because it's intellectual, emotional, and psychosocial all at the same time. Today's students are very different from students in the past. I don't think teachers have ever faced such a challenge in terms of making what happens inside of academic settings interesting, compared to the tremendous engagement and motivation that the very sophisticated entertainment industry is able to build outside of classrooms. And so finding ways to engage students who are very stimulated in the rest of their lives is really a very interesting challenge. I also think that today's students like to learn in the same ways that they use for communication and personal expression and sharing outside of classroom settings. They like to multitask, for example. They like to do many things at once. And there's times academically when you want to only be doing one thing, like when you're trying to write something that's really complicated, just focusing down on that. But many times, kids can juggle 2 or 3 or 4 things at the same time. And while that may make us as uneasy as teachers, it's also a very good preparation for modern work where you are juggling 2 or 3 or 4 things at once. Just as a skilled teacher may be talking, but they're also juggling 2 or 3 or 4 things at once as they scan around the classroom. Educational leaders face some very interesting challenges today. We have to take students who come in with a very definite set of ideas about how to learn and help them become whatever they're not. I have students who are very fluent in new technologies who really aren't very comfortable when the class meets face-to-face. They like much better the mediated interactions that we have in my class. And I have to point out that no one ever had a job interview in a mediated environment. There are times when you just need to be good face-to-face. Similarly, I have other students who are very comfortable face-to-face, but not so comfortable expressing themselves in different media. And again, that's now an essential part of work.